Between these 10 NBA legends, there are 28 championships, 23 scoring titles, and 18 MVPs, a testament to their sheer dominance. But even the greatest players in history have had nights they'd rather forget. From unstoppable performances to career-low disasters, let's dive into the best and worst games of these legendary figures, starting with the moment that nearly defined LeBron James' legacy. One of the most puzzling performances came from LeBron James in the 2011 NBA Finals. It was as if the Monstars from Space Jam had stolen his talent. Known for his dominance and aggression, LeBron suddenly became passive. Despite being widely regarded as the best player on the planet, he struggled against the Dallas Mavericks. Game 4 was his lowest point, just 8 points, one shot attempt in the fourth quarter, and no aggression.
Winners.
Gets it to LeBron for 3 for the win. Yes! LeBron James on the buzzer!
The Mavericks' defensive strategy, led by Jason Kidd and Tyson Chandler, took him out of his comfort zone. Instead of forcing the issue, LeBron played into their hands by passing and staying passive. This collapse cost Miami the championship, marking the lowest moment of his career. But LeBron rebounded spectacularly. In Game 6 of the 2012 Eastern Conference Finals against Boston, he delivered one of the greatest performances in NBA history. With an icy, determined stare, he torched the Celtics for 45 points, 15 rebounds, and 5 assists, silencing the TD Garden crowd. This was a turning point. LeBron embraced his killer instinct, leading Miami to a championship and redefining his legacy. Even the greatest players have off nights, but what separates legends is how they bounce back. Kobe Bryant's 81-point explosion against the Raptors remains one of the most legendary performances in NBA history. Locked in like never before, Kobe didn't celebrate, he simply destroyed. Guarded by Mo Peterson, his signature pump fake and relentless scoring defined the essence of his game: skill, dedication, and an obsession with winning. By the final buzzer, he had put up video game numbers: minus 81 points on 28 of 46 shooting, 7 threes, 6 rebounds, 3 steals, and a block, a feat unseen since Wilt Chamberlain. Ironically, his worst game also came against Jalen Rose's team. In Game 5 of the 2000 NBA Finals, expectations were sky-high after Kobe's clutch heroics in Game 4. But this time, he struggled, scoring just 8 points on 4 of 20 shooting as the Pacers demolished the Lakers by 33. A night to forget. While Kobe had unforgettable highs and lows, his legacy remains untouchable, just like his idol, Michael Jordan, who had too many legendary moments to count. Michael Jordan's career was full of legendary performances. He dropped 69 points on the Cavs, torched Larry Bird's Celtics for 63 in the playoffs, and dominated Barkley's Suns with 55 in the '93 Finals. But his most iconic moment came in Game 6 of the 1998 NBA Finals. But what about his worst game? Jordan rarely struggled, never scoring less than 10 points in the playoffs.
Classic performance by the flu-ridden Michael Jordan.
However, in Game 1 of the 1995 Eastern Semis, fresh from his baseball stint and wearing number 45, he had an off night: minus 19 points, 8 turnovers, and a costly late-game steal by Nick Anderson. Anderson mocked him, saying, "45 is not 23." Jordan took it personally. In Game 2, he switched back to number 23 and dropped 38 points. Though the Bulls lost the series, it was clear Jordan was still the best to ever do it. Stephen Curry coming off their 4th NBA championship in 2022, the Golden State Warriors entered the 2023 season struggling. They barely made the playoffs, and by the first round, they found themselves on the brink of elimination against the Sacramento Kings.
Curry for 3. Wow! Unbelievable!
But Game 7 was Curry's moment. When everything was on the line, the chef went to work. He torched the Kings with 50 points, 8 rebounds, and 6 assists, setting the NBA record for most points ever in a Game 7. For all his greatness, Steph's lowest moment came in the 2016 NBA Finals. The Warriors were on the verge of completing the greatest season ever with a 73-9 record, but they let a 3-1 lead slip away to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Game 7 was Curry's opportunity to cement himself as the best player in the world, but instead, he struggled. He finished with just 17 points on 6 for 19 shooting, adding 4 turnovers and just 2 assists. To make matters worse, in the closing minutes, he forced an ill-advised behind-the-back pass that sailed out of bounds, one of the most painful plays of his career. The Warriors lost. LeBron James and the Cavs celebrated. And for Curry, it was the most crushing defeat of his career. When it comes to scoring, few players in NBA history can match the pure firepower of James Harden. 101 games with 40-plus points, 23 games with 50-plus points, 4 games with 60-plus points. Only Wilt Chamberlain, Kobe Bryant, and Damian Lillard have more 60-point games than Harden, but which performance stands above them all? In the 2019 regular season, Harden faced a Warriors team loaded with Kevin, 12 turnovers, the most in NBA playoff history. Everything that could go wrong did go wrong. He couldn't buy a basket, he was sloppy with the ball, and the Rockets were eliminated. It was the kind of night every superstar wants to forget. Kevin Durant is a walking bucket. His ability to score at all 3 levels, inside, mid-range, and beyond the arc, is unmatched. 70 regular season games with 40-plus points, 14 playoff games with 40-plus points. But which games were his absolute best? With the Warriors holding the 2-0 lead against the Cavaliers, LeBron James and the Cavs were in control for most of Game 3. But when it mattered most, KD delivered the biggest shot of his career. With 43 points, 13 rebounds, and 7 assists, Durant carried the Warriors to a 3-0 series lead and set the stage for their championship. Right after his iconic press conference, "I'm Kevin Durant. We all know who I am." KD put the Clippers to sleep with a 50-point explosion on 15 for 26 shooting. This wasn't just a game, it was a statement. Coming off an Achilles injury, Durant did the unthinkable in Game 5 of the 2021 Eastern Conference semifinals. With Kyrie Irving injured and James Harden playing on one leg, KD put Brooklyn on his back. 49 points, 17 rebounds, 10 assists, 3 steals, and 2 blocks. For someone as efficient as Durant, his worst game was shocking. In Game 2 of the 2016 first round, KD scored 21 points but shot a horrific 7 for 33, including 2 for 11 from 3. He also had 7 turnovers and missed a game-winning shot. To make matters worse, OKC lost by 1 point. For one night, KD looked human. Now, coincidentally, that game was the last playoff win for our next legend, one of the few players still ahead of Kevin Durant on the all-time scoring list. Of course, it's Dirk Nowitzki, the German powerhouse who revolutionized the game with his signature one-legged fadeaway and stretch big man shooting ability. Dirk played his best basketball against the Oklahoma City Thunder and a young Kevin Durant during the legendary 2011 playoff run. On paper, the Thunder had the better team, boasting a trio of young stars in Durant, Russell Westbrook, and James Harden. But the Mavericks had Dirk, and Dirk was playing out of his mind. In Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals, Nowitzki delivered one of the most efficient and jaw-dropping performances in NBA playoff history. He scored 48 points while shooting an absurd 12 for 15 from the field, and more impressively, he set an NBA playoff record by making all 24 of his free throws without a single miss. It remains the greatest free throw shooting performance in playoff history and one of the most masterful offensive showcases ever seen. His footwork, his touch, his patience, Dirk was simply unstoppable. Dirk, who had been dominant all season, played the worst game of his life in the closed-out Game 6. With his team down 3-2 and needing a win to force a Game 7, he collapsed under the pressure, scoring just 8 points on a horrendous 2 for 13 shooting night. The Mavs lost by 25, and the dream season ended in disaster. Dirk was labeled as soft, a player who couldn't deliver in the clutch. He won MVP that year, but it felt hollow, overshadowed by that devastating loss. However, redemption would come in 2011 when Dirk led the Mavericks to the promised land. With one of the most legendary individual playoff runs ever, he dismantled the league's best teams, including Kobe Bryant's Lakers, Durant's Thunder, and finally, LeBron James and Dwayne Wade's Miami Heat in the finals. He silenced every doubter, cementing his legacy as one of the greatest power forwards to ever play the game. And speaking of legendary shooters, here's one who was once considered the greatest of all time before the likes of Ray Allen, Stephen Curry, James Harden, and Damian Lillard came along: Reggie Miller. For years, Reggie Miller was the gold standard of three-point shooting, holding the NBA record for most threes made, and his greatest shooting performance happened in Game 1 of the 1995 Eastern Conference semifinals against the New York Knicks. It was the night of his legendary 8 points in 9 seconds sequence, an unbelievable feat that left the Knicks and Madison Square Garden in absolute shock. For most of the game, Miller had been solid but unspectacular. Then, with just 18 seconds remaining, the Pacers trailed by 6. He stole the inbound pass, ran back behind the arc, and drilled another three. Just like that, the game was tied. Moments later, he was fouled and sank 2 clutch free throws to complete the comeback. The Pacers won the game, and Miller's heroics became one of the most iconic moments in NBA history. The taunting of Spike Lee on the sidelines only added to the drama, making it an unforgettable chapter in basketball lore. But even the greatest shooters have their worst nights. For Miller, his nightmare game happened on the biggest stage, the 2000 NBA Finals. After 13 seasons in the league, he had finally reached the finals with the Indiana Pacers, facing off against the juggernaut Los Angeles Lakers led by Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe Bryant. The pressure was immense, and in Game 1, Miller crumbled. Before Reiki, however, there was another player who held the title of the greatest shooter in the game. His coach during the 2000 Finals was none other than Larry Bird, a man who had redefined shooting excellence in the NBA. Bird recorded 2 legendary 50-40-90 seasons, meaning he shot at least 50% from the field, 40% from 3, and 90% from the free throw line, an elite club reserved for the best of the best. From Dirk's redemption arc to Reddy's unforgettable moments, the game of basketball has given us some of the most incredible highs and heartbreaking lows. And when it comes to shooting greatness, the legends of the game continue to inspire the next generation, proving that no moment is ever truly out of reach. Larry Bird had countless unforgettable performances throughout his legendary career. Whether it was his 60-point explosion against the Atlanta Hawks, where he hit a buzzer beater to seal his career-high night, or his incredible 53-point game against the Indiana Pacers, achieved in just 33 minutes without a single three-pointer, Bird always found ways to leave fans in awe. However, one game in particular stands out as the ultimate testament to his confidence.
Now, Bird can't beat you right there. You got to keep them under control. They don't. As Bird goes to 47 points.
Skill and competitive spirit, the famous left-handed game against the Portland Trail Blazers in 1986. By that time, Bird had already won 2 consecutive MVP awards and was well on his way to securing a third. He was so dominant that regular season games started to feel too easy for him. To challenge himself, he declared before the game that he would primarily play with his left hand. The result? A mind-boggling 47 points on 62% shooting, along with 14 rebounds and 11 assists. As the game reached its climax, Bird continued to torch the Blazers' defense, sinking shot after shot. With every bucket, he made it clear that his left hand was just as lethal as his right. "You got to keep him under control," the announcer said, but the Blazers simply couldn't. Bird wrapped up his masterpiece with a triumphant flourish, solidifying his status as one of the game's all-time greats. Despite his consistent greatness, Bird was not immune to the occasional off night. One of his rare poor performances came against the young Charles Barkley and the Philadelphia 76ers in Game 4 of the 1985 Eastern Conference Finals. That night, Bird struggled mightily, managing just 14 points on an uncharacteristic 4 of 15 shooting, while committing 8 turnovers. The Celtics suffered an 11-point loss, showing that even legends have their struggles. Another player with an iconic legacy is none other than Dwyane Wade, a 3-time NBA champion and widely regarded as the 3rd greatest shooting guard of all time. Recently, he was honored with a statue in Miami. Though opinions on its design vary, there's no disputing the impact of his incredible career. Wade's electrifying speed, athleticism, and fearless drives to the basket made him a nightmare for defenders, and his ascent to superstardom was swift. In just his 3rd season, he led the Miami Heat to their first NBA championship and earned Finals MVP honors. Wade's performance in the 2006 NBA Finals was nothing short of legendary. He averaged 34.7 points per game, which, at the time, ranked as the 9th best scoring average in Finals history. His dominance was especially evident in Game 3, where he erupted for 42 points and grabbed 13 rebounds, and in Game 5, when he tallied 43 points along with 4 assists and 3 steals. Time and time again, Wade rose to the occasion, hitting clutch shots when his team needed him most. The commentator exclaimed as he delivered yet another extraordinary performance. However, even a player of Wade's caliber had moments of struggle. His worst game came in the 2012 Eastern Conference semifinals against the Indiana Pacers. In Game 3 of the series, Wade had a nightmare outing, scoring just 5 points on 2 for 13 shooting while committing 5 turnovers in a blowout loss. It was an uncharacteristic performance from one of the most clutch players in NBA history. Whether it was Bird's left-handed brilliance or Wade's finals heroics, both players cemented their legacies with their unmatched skill and determination. Thanks for reading. If you enjoyed this breakdown, there's plenty more where that came from.